All right, so we're going to open the regular council meeting. And then what we're going to do is we're going to on the workshop, because we felt that the discussion tonight on DCTA, we needed to have all 5 council members here to hear the discussion and be a participant in that discussion. So we're going to not have that discussion tonight. And what we're going to do now is go into executive session, and we're going to discuss some issues there. And they're going to be under Section 551.087, Economic Development. So right now we're going into executive session at 5:47. Okay, we're back in regular session. Please stand for the invocation, Pledge of Allegiance, and the Texas Pledge.
Thank you, Mayor. Father, I just lift Corinth up to you this evening, that we may reflect godly principles in this city and continue to transform Corinth into what you have intended. And we pray for peace and health in our land, and wisdom and unity and patience for its staff and its leaders. In Jesus' name, amen.
Face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you. Citizens' comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Comments about any of the council agenda items are appreciated by the council and may be taken into consideration at this time or during that agenda item. Council is prohibited from acting on or discussing items brought before them at this time. I believe we have one person that would like to speak on citizens' comments. Is Kimberly Couch? Please state your name and your address for the records, please.
My name is Kimberly Couch, and I do live in the city of Corinth. I have a protected address, so I'd rather not give that. I have kind of a summary, less detailed than last time, but just kind of some things I wanted to go over before budget gets approved today. We all expect growth in our communities at a certain point. However, we shouldn't be expected to continue shouldering the majority of the city budget due to improper planning. Many of us are never thrilled with multifamily housing units and rentals either. All we can see when we hear these words is population density and a lack of resources to work with that, too much traffic, and a lack of appropriate means in which to manage it. The departments that suffer the most are generally emergency services. When a city has their own, they at least know where the money is going and how it's being split. When you share services, it becomes more problematic and unbalanced. With the lack of design planning within the city, we have massive apartments and townhomes overlooking subdivisions. Trees that help to buffer sound from busy streets and the highway are now being pulled out so that you can no longer escape any of the noise, even in your own home. We lack a good retail complex that would not only help shoulder the heavy tax burden, but also provide places locally where residents could shop instead of having to drive to neighboring cities. Employees should not have to do without raises or necessary equipment. However, when almost the sole provider of everything are homeowners, then the budget needs to be made responsibly and with thought into how city officials can work towards making this better before the next budget. Corinth was at one point expected to responsibly develop and be more self-sustaining, similar to Highland Village, and outpace Little Elm. Neither of those have come to fruition. So I did want to state that I'm adamantly against the property tax increase within the city because we already have to shoulder the tax burden through the county. And many of us are also extremely against all of the multifamily housing that's being developed within the city. So we hope this can be taken into consideration when budget is looked at and approved because we would like help in sustaining that city budget. I do have some information here also that compares us in certain aspects to Highland Village, because it's a city that's close to us and because it's a city that shares a similar land mileage with 5.53 land miles, and we have 7.7 land miles. It does show that even there, because of their business expansion, their tax rate has been lower than ours for a minimum of the last 5 years within the city taxes. They have already passed budget for this year, and that tax rate is 0.500984, which is substantially less than ours and substantially less than we're looking at right now. The school district tax rate is also staying the same for their school district, which is Louisville, whereas Denton ISD now has a Proposition A on the November ballot due to their deficit, and then the Lake Dallas ISD is also looking at a tax increase on there. So I would like that taken into consideration before the budget is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, I'd entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Is there any further discussion? Cast your vote. It's unanimous. Item number 4, public hearing. Hold a public hearing on a proposal to consider a tax rate which will not exceed the no new revenue rate of 63,101 per 100, or the voter approval tax rate of 62,629 per 100. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Leanne Bunselmeyer, our Finance Director, will cover this item, answer any questions that you have.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. So tonight is our last night of information before the Council adopts the budget and the tax rate. So I'm briefly going to do an overview of the general fund budget. So the budget priorities this year, of course, are always to be in accordance with all of our financial policies and state statutes. Some of the difficulties this year when we were developing the budget was just we had some major revenue reductions that totaled roughly a little bit over about $1 million, and that was a House Bill 9 that was approved by the Texas State Legislature this year, and then also the loss of revenue due to the impact of the over 65 tax freeze. And then both Lake Dallas ISD and Denton ISD did terminate some of our school resource officer contracts. And so, like I said, all of those were about $1 million in total that we had to find elsewhere or cut when we were reevaluating the budget. The budget does address some current and future facility needs. We did a facilities conditions assessment within the year, and it showed that we just had a lot of old facilities that needed some upkeep, and then also looking at relocating some of our operations as well in the next few years. And then, as always, we evaluate employee benefits to aid in recruitment and retention. A lot of that focuses on our public safety departments, but we also need some of that in some of our general fund areas as well, our general employees. When we look at our property tax, our certified value, we're looking at about a 3.48% growth. That's $3.7 billion. Most of that was just our existing value at 96%. The increase in existing value, so that's increases that residents saw from last year to this year, was a small fraction of that, of 0.26. And then we also had new improvement growth. So this is values that as of January 1 were increasing to our tax base, and that was about 3.1%. The new value added this year was $117 million. As I mentioned, that's a 3.1% increase in total value, and that generated about $631,000 in revenue. Now, please note that wasn't all to the general fund. Most of that was to the general fund, but we also had the portion of that went to the INS fund as well. And that's about, I think, about 20% that went to the INS fund. Looking at our tax rate, the proposed budget from the city manager does have a proposed tax rate of 53709 cents. That's a 2-cent increase from the current year's tax rate, or a 4.49% increase in tax rate. Our average home value increased by 1.83%. It is now $433,517. And then the impact to our average home value of $433,000 is about $140 a year. So your average homeowner will pay about $2,328. As far as general fund revenues, our total revenues were $27.5 million. The biggest category of that is our property taxes. With this budget and the tax rate that is proposed, we estimate it will generate $14.5 million in property taxes. That's about 52% of the total general fund budget. Sales tax, and that is about an $848,000 increase from last year, or 6.14% increase in revenues. As far as sales tax revenues, we are looking at about a $402,000 increase from last year at 15.4. We have had a steady increase, and some of that is some of the new commercial businesses that we have, and then just increases in some of our online sales. And so the total sales tax that we anticipate for next year is right at about $3 million. As I mentioned in the opening, we did lose some contracts for school resource officers, and so it started last fiscal year with the final contract terminating this year, or the next proposed budget year. So we do anticipate a 31.6% decrease in our police fees and permits, and that's a total of $204,000 shortfall. Our franchise fees, we have a small increase in that of 6.9%. That's a $90,000 increase, and with the total of roughly $1.4 million that we anticipate collecting in franchise fees. And then our fire fees, which is a combination of our agreements with the Lake Cities for fire services plus collections for EMS and so forth, those total $4.1 million, and we do anticipate about a $90,000 increase in that, or 6.9%. Oh, excuse me, $106,000 or 2.6%. Because we are anticipating using about $2.7 million of our fund balance this year, we do anticipate to have a drop in our investment income as, one, rates are dropping, and two, we are having less money to invest. So that's about a $106,000 decrease from last year, or 18%. And then as far as our transfers in, we do have budgeted about an $826,000 difference from last year to this year. And you might recall that last year we did close some of our internal service funds, and we transferred the monies to the parent fund, which was general fund. And obviously that was a one-time transfer, and so we are not doing that transfer this year, and that's why you see a difference from last year to this year. When we look at our expenditures, total expenditures are $30 million. The biggest expenditure category is our personnel at $20.2 million. That is about 67.2% of the total budget. We did have an $822,000 increase this year, and that was for compensation, and then also increase within our health insurance plan. There were some significant budget changes. We eliminated a part-time position in the fire department, and then we also transferred one position from economic development to the general fund, as it is now focusing more in the city manager's office. In order to balance the budget, as I mentioned, we had a $1 million shortfall in revenues in order to make sure that we had limited the amount of increase that we on the tax rate. We did cut about $1 million out of the budget. We budgeted salary savings of $373,000, so that was budgeting the wages and benefits in police, fire, parks, and streets at 97% instead of 100%. Some enhanced service reductions was at $298,000 were for special events, some software, things that were not eliminating any of our core services. And these were expenditures that we felt that we could either eliminate or freeze for a year until we did have the revenues to be able to sustain those in future years. And additionally, we had 3 positions that were frozen, one in the police department, communications and marketing, and I've forgotten where the third one was, actually.
Code enforcement.
Thank you. Code enforcement officer, for a total of $347,000. So decision packages, so each year departments can put in requests for additional items that they want included in the budget. Because this was a tight budget year, we are only increasing ongoing expenditures of $238,000, and those were for things that were either contract increases and some minor items that were state mandated increases or compliance increases for public safety. As again, I mentioned that was $238,000, and then we had one-time expenditures, so these are not going to be ongoing. These were coming out of our fund balance of $2.5 million, and the majority of those expenditures are actually for facilities. So when we look at our general fund forecast, we do have a policy that says that we will maintain 20% in reserves of our budgeted expenditures. So for this year, we anticipate ending the year at $7.6 million fund balance. That's a 25.5% fund balance reserve target, so we are above our target. And then looking at our forecast for 2027, I did assume that everything that was eliminated this year, the $1 million that we talked about, that they would be restored in 2027. If we restore those with just new growth of 4 to 5%, we're looking at about a shortfall of about $136,000. So as we do every year, the city manager will evaluate those cuts that we made, plus any new future requests, and determine, what will be put into the budget in the future years. And then also, the forecast also includes the impact of the senior tax freeze, as each year it is compounding and is going to be increasing on the impact on our tax rate. So again, just looking at our fund balance, we do anticipate the fund balance to be at $7.6 million. You can see a drop from the previous year, and that is that we are using that for facilities, and it is at above our fund balance target. The budget also includes some capital improvement program projects. We have 7 that are recommended by the city manager. We are not issuing debt for these projects. They total $3.7 million. We did find savings in some of our current projects, and so we are reallocating or wanting to reallocate those to these projects of $2.8 million. And the budget does include $900,000 from impact fee funds for the Post Oak project and the West Side Lift Station project. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions from council?
I've got a quick question, probably more for people that may be watching this online. The senior tax freeze is in effect now.
Correct.
So anything that we're talking about in this budget onward for forever will not affect anybody that's 64 and older. 65, I'm sorry, 65
Correct.
and older.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, at this time then, we're going to a public hearing. And we have several people that want to speak to this issue. First one up will be Arlene Carroll Crocker. Okay. Please state your name and your address for the records, please.
My name is Arlene Carroll Crocker. I live at 3112 Blake Street, about a mile from here. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. I've read the letter that the city manager wrote to the council regarding the property tax increase, and I want to plead with you to please make adjustments to the amounts that you are requesting for the bill 2526. You are requesting that our taxes be increased by 12.89%. For some people, like the gentleman that spoke last week or 2 weeks ago on September the 4th, his property tax will be affected by 19%. And that's on top of the current rate that we're paying. The typical property tax being paid in our neighborhood is more or less about $5,000. And now you're asking for an additional 12.89 or 13% on top of what we're currently paying. This is huge. I understand that there's been a loss of income to the amount of $990,000, which includes the senior tax freeze, although we don't know how much money that is until the city of Denton tells us. We'll also be losing $345,000 from HB 9 that was just passed in June or July of this year by Governor Abbott, giving businesses a break, and $222,000 from the school resource funding. Are we expected as homeowners to make up that difference? Then I read about how the city is also being asked to come up with $337,000, 13.9% increase that will cover some insurance benefit packages for the city employees. I want you to know I don't begrudge any employee for necessary increase for their increases, especially our first responders and our police department. They don't make enough money as far as I'm concerned. But it seems to me that the property owners are being asked to carry the entire load for those benefits and the COLA increases for them. Speaking of H&W increases, our own H&W increases are also going up next year. And for those who are on the ACA Affordable Care Act, they're going to be losing their subsidy at the ending of this year, thanks to the big, beautiful bill. They're really going to take a hit. In addition to property taxes, our water and sewage bill is going to be going up. The first year, 5% for the water, 3% for the sewage, making $4.68 a year in addition to new property taxes. The second year, it's going up 3%. The third year, it's going up an additional 3%. I guess my point is, I understand that prices are going up, but I'm asking you to please negotiate for a better rate so that we don't have to absorb all that you're asking for. We're asked to live within our means, but you sure make it difficult. I want you to know that I have read all the changes, but as a homeowner, I feel that we're asked to make up the remaining deficit. Please reconsider the amount that you're asking us to absorb. And I thank you for listening. I'm under the wire. Thank you.
Okay. Larry, is it Warden? Yeah. Please state your name and your address for the records, please.
So I'm Larry Warden. I live at 3301 Benbrook Cove here in Corinth. I'm not impacted by the tax because I'm over 65, so I really shouldn't care about it to the most part. But from a citizen's perspective, I have just a big concern about it. So I'm going to read you some of the information that I sent each of you earlier today that y'all had a chance to read. I'm going to try to consolidate some of that. So I'm submitting a big public comment to express the concern regarding the proposed 12.35% property tax revenue increase. I know it's not a tax increase. I can understand it's a revenue increase. But I heard a comment just a minute ago that on an average it's $146 a year, and perhaps I heard that wrong, and I wasn't meaning to comment on this, but it's not $146 a year. It's more in the area of about $2,000 to $3,000 as an average per resident here in Corinth. So I respectfully urge the council to reconsider the approach and evaluate a more equitable alternative before placing further burden on the neighborhoods that already contribute most significantly to the tax base. From a perspective of principal to cost to serve equity, the high-value, low-service demand neighborhoods typically require fewer city services, less frequent street repair, some of them are privately maintained, minimal stormwater mitigation, with the exception of some recent issues we've all experienced, and lower police and fire call volume. Yet these homes already contribute more in property taxes due to the higher assessed value. Further increasing their rates would penalize efficiency and responsible neighborhood development. These homes already contribute significantly. The homeowners provide stable, high-yield tax revenue with minimal infrastructure burden. Their contributions often subsidize areas with higher city service needs. Not that I'm trying to separate that into, who has and who does not, but that's the reality of it. A disproportionate increase shifts the financial load unfairly onto those already supporting the system. I think it risks alienating civic stability and investment. Long-term homeowners in Corinth are the backbone of civic life, voting, volunteering, and investing in the community. Applying a steep increase to these stakeholders risks long-term damage, trust, and civic engagement. It ignores the root cause of the financial imbalance. Much of the city's financial pressure stems from rapid multifamily development, legacy commercial tax breaks, and high service cost zones. The structural deficit should not be patched by overtaxing the most efficient and stable parts of the city. Separately, out of this amount, only $151,000 of the $980,000 increase comes from newly developed properties. The remaining burden falls squarely on the existing residents who are seeing a year-over-year increase. So the suggestion on all this is this year's budget increases property tax revenue by over 12%, with the majority of this money coming from existing homeowners. And what I'm curious about, while I have a second, is what occurs with the sales of property that we have. We have 153 properties in the city of Corinth that are available to some degree or another. We've got the Public Works property that's going to go up for sale. It's got a $3 million assessed value. Where does that money go?
Thank you. Okay, we have Catherine Stelkup. Please state your name and your address for the records, please.
My name's Catherine Stelkup. I live at 3409 Fairview Drive. Mine seems a little more personal than what we've heard. I've been a resident in the same house for 37 and a half years. I paid mud taxes for 22 years as well as my house taxes for 37 years. I've seen the tax rate go up, at least in the last 16 years, as high as 0.604 and as low as 0.514. 2 of those years with mud tax rates added on. In my job, I hear people frequently say I'm on a fixed income, and so am I. And even though I'm lucky enough to have a little more in my paycheck every year, it doesn't seem to cover the cost of everything else around me that seems to increase in cost. Understand that there needs to be an increase, and I'm asking that you please vote for the lower tax rate option, not the 0.63101 or the 0.62629. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else who wants to speak to this issue? Yeah. Come down, state your name and your address for the record. You got 3 minutes.
Mike King, 2610 Zachary Drive. I was approached over the last couple weeks by numerous residents. As you guys know, we're not going to go back into history of my group and all that kind of stuff, but I still talk to a lot of those people. And the two most common questions that I have been asked that I don't have an answer for. One of the questions probably would be directed to you, Mr. Campbell, in all respect, is so many times at the meetings we've heard that our property taxes would be lowered on the assumption that we could increase density to entice retail businesses to come into the city of Corinth, to increase our sales tax, which would hopefully maybe have a potential to decrease our property tax. The issue is that I don't have the answer, and I was presented some data that I did not bring with me because I was not planning on speaking, but it appears, and well, you know what the word assume means, but when cities lower the property tax rate, the counties raise the assessed value because understand they're working on years out budget to get that amount of money. So my questions I would ask is, that I was asked, is if we're going to go on the assumption that our property tax rate by the city potentially could be lowered, is on the building of the enticement of companies, mom and pop and or large corporations, to come into the city of Corinth to increase the sales tax. One question is where? And number two is, as we assume, using that word again, that in the positions that some hold, city staff, city manager and stuff, should be good on forecasting budgets, could we be made available a timeline on the projections of these retail businesses coming to Corinth? Now, I know that's a very loaded question because you may not know. I mean, a phone call could happen tomorrow. But I would think, and I see the head shaking up and down, I understand that, and I know it's a difficult question, but I understand is I would think there would have been some kind of forethought and process and conversations of that timeline. If the taxes continue to go up, at least it would give the residents some hope. That because a lot of people are really concerned. My last 10 minutes, rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. We love you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion on this item.
The action item on the tax rate's a little further down on the agenda, Mayor. This just.
Okay. All right, so I'm closing the public hearing. Okay, item number 5. Hold a public hearing, consider an act on the ordinance amending the section 50.16 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Corinth to increase the water and wastewater rates currently in effect, providing for the incorporation of premises, providing amendments, providing for a cumulative repealer clause, and providing a savings clause, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor. Leanne Bunselmeyer. Cover this item, answer any questions.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. So tonight, to start out to discuss the rates is in 2023, the Council hired Raftelis to come in and do an evaluation of our water and wastewater rate structures to evaluate cost. That included our operational costs, our capital improvement costs, and to determine if our revenues were sufficient enough to cover those costs. And at that time, they did recommend a 3-year plan to get our revenues up to where we needed to with our expenditures. So this is the final year of that plan. So in 2024, there was a little bit higher rate increases of 5%. In 2025, which is the current year that we're in, we did 3% across the board. And what is proposed for the next year is to also do a 3% rate increase across the board, water, wastewater, with both your fixed and volumetric charges. Now, the rate study for 2026 did not include any debt issuance, and so as I mentioned earlier in the tax rate presentation, we do not have a debt issuance for either general fund or for the utility fund. So there is no proposed issuance in here affecting these rates. Next year, we will be doing another rate study and evaluating for another 3 to 5 years to determine if rates are sufficient or if they need to be increased. Again, this is a cycle that we do every 3 to 5 years. So for the proposed rates for water, you can see the difference, and I'm not going to go through every single one, but your average residential customer is at a 5/8 meter, so that is on a fixed charge. That's about a $1.46 increase. When you look at the residential volumetric charges, our seniors get the first 5,000 gallons within their base rate, so there is no charge for the first 5,000 gallons. On your normal residential for the first 5,000, that's about a 7 cents increase, and then it continues up in your tiers. When you look at your commercial volumetric charge by tier, 0 to 50,000 is about 17-cent increase, and then 50 to 200 gallons is about 23-cent increase. Most of our commercial sits right there about that 75 to 200,000 gallon. So that's usually the most common tier that is used. When we look at irrigation, again, that's about from 0 to 50,000 is 19-cent increase, and 50 to 100,000 is 26 cents. Most of your irrigation meters are for businesses. We do have just a few residentials that have split meters where one is for the home and then another is irrigation, but 98% of those are for business commercial customers. Looking at our wastewater rates, the residential fixed is a $1.10 increase per month. Your seniors is a $1.10 increase per month, and your commercial is a $1.57. On the volumetric for your both residential and seniors is 13-cent increase per month, and your commercial is $1.16. When we look at the impact to your residents or your ratepayers, I have shown what the impact was for all 3 years of the rate study. So we're in that last year, which is the 2020-26. So for your residential customers, their bill on 8,000 gallons, which that's what our average homeowner usage is, their bill will increase from $140 to $145, which that's about a $4.23 increase per month. And your seniors would increase from $124 to $128, and that's about $3.75 per month. Looking at our commercial and irrigation rates, again, going from 2025, they're currently paying about $436. This is on a 31,000 gallons. Their bill will go up to $449, so that's about a $13.10 increase. And then on irrigation, the average is about a 41,000 gallons per month. That increases about $7.15, so their bill will go from $238.18 up to $245.33. Looking at our financial forecast for the utility, as I mentioned, it does include rate increases for the current year, but we do not include the rate increases for the out years. We will need to potentially look at those, like I said, to evaluate as we do our rate study within the next year. A lot of things that come into play with this that are potential offset is that we are looking at applying for the 35 utility relocation grant reimbursement of $5 million. So that would reduce the amount of money that we would need for debt. And then, as always, we can reprioritize our CIP projects. And so that's something that we do on an annual basis to determine and move those out years so that we don't have as great of an impact on the needed revenues for that year. One of the big things that I did not mention here that we talked about in the budget is that for Upper Trinity, we did have about a 5% increase, but the city of Denton increased the rates for us by 11%. So those did have a big impact on just our expenditures for the year. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from council? Okay, thank you very much. All right, at this time, I'll open it up for a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who wants to speak to this? Okay, if If not, I'll close the public hearing. Item number 6, conduct a public hearing to consider testimony and act on a request for a specific use permit by the applicant, McAdams, to allow for a private car wash and fueling station on approximately 16.3 acres located at 7701 South Simmons Freeway.
I'm sorry, Mayor, did we make a motion on item 5?
Okay, yeah, I'd entertain a motion on item 5.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 25-09-18-40, amending section 50.16 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Corinth to increase the water and wastewater rates.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Cast your vote. It passes unanimously. Okay, item number 6. Conduct a public hearing to consider testimony and act on request for a specific use permit by the applicant, McAdams, to allow for a private car wash and fueling station on approximately 16.3 acres located at 7701 South Simmons Freeway. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, Melissa Daly, our Planning Director, will cover this item and answer any questions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So you see the map of the location that we're discussing this evening. The subject property is currently zoned industrial, and this is the current location of the CoServe training yard, which will be relocated to the adjoining parcel to the east. CoServe is undertaking several projects on their property, including this new fueling station and truck wash to serve their own fleet vehicles. This is not for the public. This is for their own use. And an SUP is required for a fueling station with a car wash. There were discussions about other locations, ultimately settled on this site, which is more interior to the site and more appropriate for these uses, we feel. They're proposing a private 3-bay truck wash and a 4-bay fueling station. You can see that there on the site. I don't know where the mouse went. Sorry. And the existing on-site pavilion will be preserved, and a new parking will be provided for the building. And then the open space lot, which is here to the west, southwest, will remain the same. It will remain as is. We feel that staff feels the location on the CoServe campus is best suited for this use, as I mentioned, is because it is set back and internal to the site and screened from public view with really no impact on surrounding properties. As of this date, we've received no letters of support or opposition. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval at their regular meeting in August, and staff recommends approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any question from council? Thank you very much. We have a public hearing on that? Okay, so I'm opening it up for public hearing. Is there anybody that wants to speak to that? Okay, close the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion on that item.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 25-09-18-41, case number SUP 25-0002 as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? Cast your vote. It's unanimous. Item number 7, conduct a public hearing to consider testimony and act on the city-initiated request to amend the City of Corinth Comprehensive Plan, Envision Corinth 2040 Master Thoroughfare Plan by realigning the Carpenter Lane Future Collector Roadway to connect Lake Sharon Drive to Corinth Parkway. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Melissa Daly will present this item before the public hearing and answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. The Master Thoroughfare Plan was adopted in 2040 as part of the, adopted in 2020, as part of the 2040 Comprehensive Plan. And it calls for an alignment on Carpenter Road. The existing Carpenter Road is here, just behind Millennium. It's really just currently kind of a gravel road that ends just behind Millennium and doesn't extend northward yet. The existing alignment in the thoroughfare plan is shown here. It curves around to I-35. The proposed alignment would connect Lake Sharon on the south to all the way to Corinth Parkway. I think the goal would be to provide a functional connection for both vehicular traffic and, importantly, pedestrian traffic for this development or when this develops into and from the northern area, the downtown area. So that would be the goal, and by putting it on the thoroughfare plan, that then allows for, or requires rather, the developers to pay for that to be built when those properties develop. So again, here's the existing alignment. This is the alignment that's being proposed. I would note, too, that there's a reasonable chance that this will not extend across the creek from a vehicular standpoint, but perhaps just a pedestrian standpoint. There would likely be a connection as these properties develop to I-35, probably multiple connections within this development to accomplish that connection here. But it is important that there be at least a pedestrian connection across that bridge as this whole area develops. And this was also shown in the South Downtown plan that we reviewed some months back, so it's consistent with that. And as of this date, we've received no letters of support or opposition for this request. The Planning and Zoning Commission did approve this request at their August 28th meeting, and staff recommends approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions from council?
I do have a quick question. As it comes, is it going to be vehicular roadway all the way to Corinth Parkway? Or no?
I think as a practical matter, there would be a pretty expensive bridge that would be required for vehicular traffic. So I think as a practical matter, you would have connections that would, from vehicular-wise, that would go out to 35.
South of the creek?
Correct. South of the creek and north of the creek.
Okay.
As those properties develop.
I see.
But we would like to see a pedestrian connection across the creek.
Okay. But the road will eventually go to Corinth Parkway?
Correct.
And then it will be right turn only onto Corinth Parkway, I'm guessing?
Right.
Because that's such a short...
Well, it's one way, too. So right in.
Oh, there's a median there, too, right? Yeah. So...
Right in, right out.
Right. You couldn't go left there. Right.
Correct.
Okay. And you don't anticipate there being any, traffic issues with that, or?
Well, there would be a traffic analysis done, but we feel like generally because it is a right in, right out, that it would be okay. But when that were to occur, there would be a traffic analysis. I think what we looked at, it is really challenging to provide the access needed for fire access, to have two access points to this development, and also meet the TxDOT requirements for spacing for driveways. So that's the other thing it accomplishes, is that ability for safety vehicles to get out.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. At this time, I'll open it up for public hearing. Is there anybody that would want to speak to that issue? No? Close the public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion on that item.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 25-09-18-42, amending the City of Corinth's comprehensive plan, Envision Corinth 2040, master thoroughfare plan by realigning the Carpenter Lane future collector roadway to connect Lake Sharon Drive to Corinth Parkway.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Catch your vote. Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, business agenda. Item number 8, consider an act on an ordinance adopting a budget and the fiscal year of the capital improvement plan and appropriating resources for the budget year beginning October 1, 2025, ending September 30th, 2026 for the City of Corinth, and providing an effective date. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight before you is the required ordinance to approve the fiscal year 2026 budget. As you know, we've had several workshops about this, starting back in June, several in August, and then we had the public hearing on the budget at the last council meeting. I can confirm to you tonight that we have made no new changes, no new recommendations from what we last presented to you. And Leanne has gone over the budget 2 weeks ago and then again tonight, so I won't repeat all of that, but we're certainly here to answer any questions that you may have. But this is the required ordinance to approve the fiscal year 26 budget. We're here to answer any questions.
Okay, is there any question, council? Okay, I'd entertain a motion on that item.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 25-09-18-43, adopting the budget and first year of the capital improvement plan and appropriating resources for the budget year beginning October 1st, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026 for the city of Corinth.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Okay. Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
Mr. Burke? Yes. Mr. Garber?
Yes.
Ms. Rail? Yes. Ms. Pickens?
Yes.
It's unanimous. Item number 9, consider an act on the ordinance levying and adopting the tax rate of .53709 for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the required ordinance to adopt the tax rate that was presented earlier this evening. Just to repeat, we are recommending a .53709 per $100 of assessed valuation rate to fund the fiscal year 2026 budget. A couple of quick corrections on what was on your and let me back up. That is lower than the new revenue rate and lower than the voter approval rate, as we've previously discussed. We did have an item. We found a correction that's on your staff report, but it is correct in the ordinance on the debt component. Your staff report had a 13.7 cent tax rate for the debt component, and that is actually .14460, as we've discussed in previous meetings. So I just wanted to point that out. We are also, I think we have an amended recommendation for a proposed motion on this that's in front of you that's a little clear. Is that on? Do they have that, Lana? They have that on your sheet. And the reason we did that is basically because the state requirement in terms of the motion specific to the tax rate actually compares your proposed tax rate to the no new revenue rate. And in our case, we're actually proposing a lower tax rate than that. And so if we use just the state language, which we're still including in the motion that we have provided to you separately, it would indicate a decrease in the tax rate. And just in the spirit of transparency, obviously, we wanted to list in the motion the percentage change in the tax rate that we have today and the tax rate that we are proposing in this budget, which is a little less than a 5% increase, and the comparison to the no new revenue rate and the proposed tax rate to satisfy the state standard. We were just concerned that it was a little misleading. But
Okay.
Leanne, did I say that right? Okay.
All right. We have a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any?
Yep. Mayor, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of .53709 per $100 valuation, which is effectively a 4.49% increase over the prior year tax rate and a 14.49% decrease from the no new revenue tax rate, and to approve ordinance number 25-09-18-44.
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
Mr. Burke? Yes. Mr. Garber?
Yes.
Ms. Rail? Yes. Ms. Pickens?
It's unanimous. Item number 10, consider an act on an ordinance approving the 2025 tax rolls and accepting the anticipated collection rate of 100% for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. There's another truth in taxation requirement that the city approve the 2025 certified appraisal. As you will recall, that number was reported to us at $3,939,775,911. For budgeting purposes, you will recall, we had to come off that number just a little bit because we had to back out some of the value of the total from the total taxable value of all of the senior accounts to the tune of about $154 million. So the number that we were budgeting off of is $3,785,819,937. That is the value we will apply the tax rate you just adopted to fund this budget. This also sets an anticipated collection rate of 100%, as you have done in years past. Answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions from council? Okay, then I'd entertain a motion on that item.
Mayor, I would move to approve ordinance number 25-09-18-45, accepting the 2025 tax roll and to accept the submission of the certified collection rate of 100% for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2025 and ending September 30, 2026.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Cast your vote. It's unanimous. Item number 11, consider vote to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the city's annual budget for fiscal year 2025-2026. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Another truth in taxation requirement is anytime a city is raising more property taxes than they did the year before, it requires a separate vote, and you see that proposed motion in your staff report. We'll answer any questions that you may have.
Is there any question? Okay, I'd entertain a motion on that item.
Mayor, I move to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the city's annual budget for fiscal year 2025 through 2026.
Second.
Okay, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Burke? Yes. Mr. Garber?
Yes.
Ms. Rail? Ms. Pickens?
It's unanimous. Item number 12, consider an act on an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Corinth, Texas, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement between the City of Corinth and the Lake City Chamber of Commerce for payment and use of hotel tax revenue. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is an agreement we have entered into with the Chamber of Commerce for the last several years. I can't remember exactly how many, but we contribute $5,000 out of our hotel motel fund each year to help them with advertising for their annual bike race. If you're not familiar with it, you may have seen it this week. They just had it this weekend, had a very successful event, actually started it across the street at Agora, and I understand it went swimmingly. And so we're recommending the same agreement for this year. We'll answer any questions that you have.
Is there any question, Council? No. Okay. I'd entertain a motion on that item.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 25-09-18-46, approving the agreement with the Lake City's Chamber of Commerce, authorizing the use of hotel occupancy tax.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Cast your vote. It's unanimous. Item number 13, consider enacting a resolution approving compensation plan for employees, adopting pay schedules for general government, public works, and facilities, police, and fire, and providing for an effective date. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a resolution to actually approve our compensation plan. Hopefully you had a chance to look at this. We talked about in the budget that we included a 3% COLA for our employees as part of this budget. That includes public safety, who will get their natural 3% progression in the STEP plan. And so this is just the action item to approve that compensation in this budget. And Guadalupe Ruiz, our Director of Human Resources, is here. If you have specific questions about this, she will help you.
Is there any questions from council? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I would move to approve Resolution 25-09-18-09, approving the compensation plan for its employees, adopting pay schedules for general government, public works and facilities, police, and fire, and providing an effective date of September 22nd, 2025.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Cast your vote. It's unanimous. Consider item number 14. Consider enacting an ordinance of the City of Corinth, amending the City Council's Personnel Policy Manual incorporated by reference into Chapter 34, Personnel Policy, Section 34.01, adoption by reference to adopt revisions to maximum level balance and holidays and providing an effective date. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I will let Guadalupe come up and present this item tonight. This is some suggested changes to our personnel policy that we think would be beneficial to the
Good evening,
staff.
Mayor and council members. Well, as the city manager have shared with you through the meetings, this time we were not able to do any market adjustments given the circumstances and the explanations that Leanne today reminded us of the issues that we had this year financially. So for that reason, there was no adjustment on the market. Actually, the pay schedules that you see that were adopted just a minute ago have no increase, except for some reclassifications that the city manager shared with you and some equity adjustments that are necessary to take care of. So for that reason, also, as part of the strategic planning, during the meetings, you remember that it was brought up for HR to review the benefits and maybe on that part be up to the market. So for that reason, there's only 3 of them. There are some other like benefits such as certifications that, yes, other cities do pay more, but this was not the year to consider them. So that's why, for that reason, we have 3 only on the table for your consideration and approval. The first one is to add a holiday. As you know, we have market cities. We have 12 cities, and we're marketing the middle of the market, which is the philosophy that the council has approved, has a total of 12 days. The city of Corinth has currently 11. So what we're presenting for consideration and approval of the council is adding a holiday. In this case, would be the Veterans Day. The other provision of the personal policy that we are providing today and asking for your approval is to increase the compensatory time. It's just the max, how much we allow employees to accumulate as compensatory time. Right now we have it at 40. The suggestion the recommendation is to change it to 80. This is something that police department and some other employees have asked about it. So that is pretty much just allowing them to bank more hours. When it comes to sick, it's the same thing. It's just adding. Right now we have the equivalent to 18 weeks that people can accumulate on sick leave. And what we are suggesting is to increase that to 20 weeks in the bank. And I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any question, council? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'd entertain a motion on that item.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 2509-1847, adopting the revised City of Corinth Personnel Policy Manual with an effective date of October 1st, 2025.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Cast your vote. It's unanimous. Item number 15, consider testimony and act upon a request for a sign variance to the Unified Development Code subsection 4.01.17 H directional sign to increase the maximum area for the sign face and number of directional signs for Lake Dallas ISD at Meadowview Drive in Corinth, Texas, 76210. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor. Melissa Daly will present this item and answer any questions.
Give me just a second. So this is a request by the Lake Dallas ISD for wayfinding signage or directional signage at the high school, at Lake Dallas High School, which is a 53-acre campus with multiple buildings, of course, parking lots that require navigation. Our current UDCD standards are quite limited in terms of what's allowed and essentially allows for 2 directional signs. So it doesn't really consider the acreage or the type of facility. It just is a flat 2 maximum signs. So the request is to increase the number of signs from 2 to 8 for the campus. Our current sign area requirements are 4 square feet, which is very, very small, probably relatively hard to see. So the request is to increase those to 14 square feet. They'll be no more than 3 foot tall, which is our current maximum on signage. And this is what they look like. So a hardship is required to be shown. We feel that that is met because of the flat 2 signs that are allowed, whereas this is a large campus that doesn't really make sense for just a 2 sign limit, and that more signs would improve traffic flow and navigation. So staff recommends approval to allow for the 8 directional signs rather than the required 2 and 14 square foot maximum size face rather than 4 square foot. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any question from council?
No.
I just have one really quick question. So the picture, this says it's 48 inches.
Correct. This is what they gave us.
Oh, okay, but we're going down to 36.
We asked them to keep it at the 3.
Okay, and I'm not going to question. I guess it just seems excessive, but they know what they need, I guess.
It's 53 acres, so it's pretty big. We kind of looked.
Yeah. I kind of looked at where they were going to be. There weren't any super close to each other, but I just really wanted clarity on that.
No, that's a good catch. And this is what they originally submitted. We asked that they keep them to the 3 foot requirement.
Okay.
Any other question? No. Thank you very much. I'd entertain a motion on that item.
Mayor, I move to approve case number ZVR 25-0001, Lake Dallas ISD sign variance to allow for 8 directional signs of 14 square feet of maximum sign face.
Second?
Any further discussion? Cast your votes. It's unanimous. Council comment and future agenda items. The purpose of this section is to allow each council member the opportunity to provide general updates and or comments to fellow council members, the public, and our staff on any issue or future event. Also, in accordance with Section 30.085 of the Code of Ordinances, at this time, any council member may direct that an item be added as a business item to any future agenda. Mr. Burke.
I just wanted to thank the staff and Mr. Campbell for putting together what I think is an excellent budget. And I did want to address, we had several people make public comments tonight, and I think it may appear to you that we're ignoring you or not taking your comments seriously. We've been working with this budget for months. We've had several workshop sessions. There weren't really any concerns that I heard that I hadn't personally considered. Most, if not all, of the city council members have met independently in addition to the workshops with city manager, the finance director, to address many of these same concerns. I know I personally wish that retail development was coming here more quickly, or that it didn't have the strings attached to it that it seems to have when we talk to developers. I can tell you that I'm confident that I've done everything from a policy standpoint as far as supporting the city manager and city government, the zoning we've passed, the incentives we've passed, to bring that development here as quickly as we can reasonably. But in our system of government, in our system, our economic system, our capitalist system, all we do is incentivize those things to happen. We don't do them. Private parties have to do them, and they have to decide that they're going to invest their money to do them, and we can't control that time frame. And so when you ask us to provide you with when is this going to happen, we cannot, because we're relying on what other people tell us they're going to do. And I can tell you that we have incentive agreements with many of these developers, and they don't meet them. They don't complete the projects on the time frames that we outline to provide them with incentives. So I don't know what else to do. Most of the increases in our budget, if not all of them, are the result of inflationary pressures that we cannot control. A lot of this is a victim of our success in this region. We are competing with Frisco and other cities for police and fire. They are paying those people a lot more than we are paying them. They kind of set the standard. We've got to keep up with some of those competing cities who do have sales tax revenue because they put tollways through them that we will never have and can't compete with. So those are just we've got to balance all of those things, and I want you to understand you may not agree with where we have set the tax rate, but the things that you brought up tonight have been considered, and we've tried to balance those with providing excellent city services and maintaining the type of city infrastructure that we think you deserve and that we want to have where we live.
Yeah, I want to second all of that. On top of, in the 10 years that I've been doing this, we have had one other year where things just seemed to all line up and made the budget process difficult. And this was one of those years, unlike the previous year that I think I can remember. This year was much easier, much better. And we pulled a rabbit out of the hat, staff did. And so I want to make sure that you guys know how proud I am of you, that you guys came together as a team and said, hey, we can cut $1 million, we can do this, we can fix this. We know it might be a short-term fix, but on top of that, we are confident that we can keep our teams happy and we can keep the public safe and we can keep the services rolling. And all of these things are going to happen. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate that. It was a huge win for us at the 10th hour. To the speakers, this is my least favorite part, I think, of community hearings. These are very important. I can count probably on one hand where we've heard information at the very last second that we were able to take action on. What I'm saying is it's definitely worth your time to come here and speak, but this process started 4 or 5 months ago through the budget workshops. So if we're concerned about something or there's a potential tax rate, the tax rate and the budget has to be approved tonight. The state requires it. There is no wiggle room by the time we show up to this dais. And the other thing that makes it a little confusing and a little difficult is when we have people speaking, what I love to do is to be able to reply, and we can kind of work through and try to understand what it is. Like some of the numbers tonight, I still don't know where those numbers came from. It would be wonderful, to be able to communicate back and forth. But as you remember, right before the meeting started, we are prohibited from asking questions or from digging in or doing anything at this dais. And so I've probably done this 30 or 40 times. I recommend to everybody to reach out through the process. If you see something, if you question something, if you're like, hey, next year's budget, I want to know ahead of time where we think this thing's going to land, let me know. And I'll send you all the information that I have. And to get that sort of feedback at that time would be helpful. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Rail?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody who did give feedback tonight and prior to tonight. I know there was a lot of communication on social media, and I apologize for looking down. This is really hard for me. This is my first one like this. So, but we proposed a tax rate based on an attempt to maybe claw back some of those things we had to cut out of the budget. And the message from the community was really clear, and we listened. And I think that just highlights the importance of people getting involved and communicating and having an understanding of what's going on with the budget and in the city. And I just want to thank everybody for all of that feedback that was given, both on social media and in person and via email. So thank you.
Ms. Pickens?
Yeah, it's tough being in the 5 spot because most everything's been said, but I just want to echo what my fellow council members have said, that this was a long process. Kudos to the staff with the rising cost of living and doing business. They were able to, cut some things out of our budget to where the impact to the public wouldn't really be felt. So we appreciate all their hard work in doing that. Nobody up here wants to raise the tax rate, and we live here too. We don't want that for you, as we are here representing your voice. We don't want that either. So hopefully, like Sam said, we'll see some retail start planting some roots here in the city with the development across the way at Harley-Davidson. I really hope that is going to spark some real interest and excitement in our city, and things will really start happening. So we appreciate your patience with us, and I do also appreciate that people reach out to me, whether I see you somewhere or I get emails. Don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. I may not have the answers, but I'll sure do my very best to get them for you. So, and I appreciate y'all that are here tonight that have taken the time to sit and participate in this meeting. So, thank y'all.
Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's all been said, but the staff would like to thank the council and all the work you put into this, because it's a lot, and we hit you with a lot of workshops and a lot of information, and your dedication is what makes it happen. We appreciate it, and the staff, all our department heads work really hard on this, and special shout out to Leanne and her team. They do a great job every year. Super appreciated. So it's just, I'm proud of the document tonight, and thanks to everybody.
And again, I just want to reiterate the same thoughts that the other council members have expressed here. But again, one of the things that this council really stands for is that we're very open for input. And this council's here to serve you, the citizens. And I think we do a really good job of that. And we try to accommodate all the different elements of running a good city in terms of police and fire and public works and parks. And with the Agora Park over there now, we're trying to put different activities in there that are family-oriented, that are good for the community. And I think if you just have a little patience, retail's coming. And when retail comes and we get downtown Corinth put together, I think this will be a destination for a lot of people on the weekends, because this is a great city, and we admire the citizens because they support us, but this council also is really working hard to make the city what it is today. So thanks again, and we're adjourned.